You're all filthy. Everything's filthy. Hey, Greg. I should be doing this in a swimsuit. It's too hot. Hey, Rob. Good to see you. Thought I'd just take a 5-minute break here and do nothing too serious. Nothing like a quick little iPhone screen replacement to make the day a little easier. I do like doing these iPhone screen replacements. Nice cheap income, so to speak. Alright. Well, it looks like I can't get my desk all pristine anymore. It's too beaten, too old. Everything's dirty. Hey, Ray. And Christian from Mexico. 35, yep, that's the interior temperature. So I'm not even going to bother putting gloves on. I'm just going to have to deal with it. I need a magnet pad though. Yeah. 3 centigrade where I live. Well, I guess it's debatable. I mean, 3 is pretty brutal, I'll agree. I mean, anything under 10 for me starts to make me shiver a bit. Oh, I need some lights. But it seems like in the cold climates, most houses are built for cold climates. Whereas out here in the heat, I don't know what the designers were thinking. It's like they weren't thinking. I think the heat already cooked their brains. Oh, turn this off. I think the heat cooked the designer brains and they just built houses that were better off for colder climates. So this place turns into a kiln during the summer. Oh, I've worked on this one before. Alright. Hey, Yindi. You guys suffering from the worst of the Pilbara heatwave coming across the continent? Yesterday was just atrocious. I don't know what happened yesterday, but it was probably the worst day of the whole year. Well, the whole season. Like we had well, Yindi Yamara will know, we had the 10 days of, well, it was almost 2 weeks of 40 plus degrees. It just was non-stop. But yesterday just seemed so much worse. I think because the humidity was much higher. Like I've got my extractor fan going on. It helps a little bit, but and the air conditioners are going on, and they're set to 23, and it's just not cutting through it. They got a slight bend in this phone. Great. It's going to sit slightly proud. I would not like to be living in the Pilbara desert or places like Mount Isa right now. That would be literal hell on earth. Minus 24 in Canada. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. You can actually put clothes on and feel warm. Build a bunker. It's not a bad idea. There's something that Australia doesn't do a lot of, is underground stuff. Except if you're in Cooperpedy. Yindi, how far, sorry, I should say Yindi Yamara. How far away are you from here? Were you anywhere near where the cyclones crossed in the Cape? I saw a few communities got hit, but nothing too bad, thankfully. Been a long time since I've been up that north. I used to spend a fair bit of time up in Kakadu National Park. Yeah, winter can't come soon enough for here. Let's see. You guys are getting dust storms. Yuck. Oh, you're in central I don't know why I thought you were up here in the north. Yeah, so you're near the, getting close to the three-way intersection between all the states. It's always an oddity that it gets so brutal down there. But I guess it is pretty much where that stream of air comes off the desert. It's rough living. I wouldn't want to be there myself. I need some adhesive. See, Greg, we had to go out and shovel knee-high window, pushing snow. Yeah, snow, I mean, when you get bogged in with the blizzards and stuff like that, I mean, that's got to be pretty rough going. But I sort of figure with snow and things like that, yeah, if you have got your house built for it, you can bunker down and endure through it, and as long as your insulation is good, you should survive. At least you're not going to run out of water. But out here, when it starts cracking 45 plus, yeah, it's pretty easy to go from surviving to dead if you make a bit of a mistake. Let's see. Just putting down the adhesive for the home button. So many times people don't replace this, and then a few weeks later or a month later, the customer's home button stops working and their Touch ID stops working because the fatigue just rips apart the flex. Come on. So there's a bunch of junk on that. Craptacular, that's a pretty good term for it. Expecting 20,000 in your town to celebrate Elvis. Oh my goodness. Parks Elvis Festival. Alright, I'll do that. I didn't realise we even had an Elvis Festival in Australia. Not the sort of thing I would expect. Put the metal plate on. I'm not thinking very clearly. I'm going to blame the heat. Parks. Is that the same town that has the telescope? The radio telescope? Parks radio telescope? Oh, beauty. Yeah. Well, there's something I would go and see. How do the heat with the heat pumps? Are they that effective over there? Is there enough heat to extract from there? Because I know here they work very well. We actually also have heat pump hot water heaters. Although I think they're still probably another 5 or 10 years away from being reliable enough. But it's a smart idea. One of these days I should get solar on this roof, but that's about $6,500. So no. Alright, time to flip the microscope. Because I can't judge it from free-eyeing it. Make sure that the little ring hasn't slipped over the lens. The number of times I've put these things back together and that little felt ring around the camera lens has slipped across. It's like, I've got to undo it all again. I see Lewis Rossman's learning a new skill today. Getting his drilling into walls with his new Ryobi toolset. I should be doing fencing right now, but it's too hot. I've been putting off this 70 meters of fencing for about 2 months now. It's just the weather hasn't been helping. It's either pouring down rain or boiling hot. Try not to get too many fingerprints on these. Let's see, let's have a read. Got a 5S here, it was in an older box. Touch ID worked about 2 years ago. Replace the battery, yeah. Battery replace, home button works. Touch cannot be activated. Has it got a partial tear in the button, or is it just, you think it got too much pressure and it cracked it? At least with the phones up to the 7, yeah, if you do, we do have the, what am I saying? Yeah, losing the Touch ID isn't a critical thing. But I'm very excited to see if we really are going to now get replacement home buttons for the 7, 8 and 10 that, yeah, that still function even though they're not Touch ID active, because that's the one thing that has stopped me doing repairs or screen replacements on the 7 and 8. It's simply because I don't want to take the risk on of damaging that home button and then the person's phone gets bricked. Mostly because we don't have an Apple authorized provider for quite a distance around here. So I'm just waiting to hear back from, or hear the announcement from Union Repair and Justin of Art of Repair. It's supposed to be in another week or two and we should have these replacement home buttons finally, and if that's the case it's going to really help a lot. Hey Chuck, yeah, hippie day today. I would need to get my hair cut. Oh man, that chassis really got a bend in that. No, I gotta get that bend out. It's gonna drive me mad. They do not require welding. How am I going to do this? I'm just happy with the fact that they'll even exist. And I know there was the entire dock replacement version, but this is really what we want. that's within margin now. After 15 years she quit. Well, I guess if you leave it grow long enough, you can just, like, you know, grab it and cut it that way. A few years ago I did. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was home alone, which is a bad start, and my hair was just getting really annoying, and so I just sort of blindly, well, not blindly, but in front of a mirror, just sort of got the scissors and went back like that. It can't have been too bad. Alright, let's have a look at this. Oh, what the heck? We've got a hot spot. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. You can see this hot spot? That is annoying. Great. Now that's either a defect in the LCD or that is a speck of dust I didn't see on the metal plate. I'm gonna go with it being a speck of dust because I wasn't paying due attention. Oh, got the shakes. I could just tell the customer, no, that's normal, live with it, get out of here, but I can't do that. Yeah, we'll blame the heat. It sounds like a good idea. I mean, it's a pain, yeah. You spend another 10 minutes, or at worst, you got to get another screen. But I guess it's a case of I prefer to do the best I can with my jobs. Most people wouldn't really notice it until you explicitly point it out to them. Particularly that it often doesn't show up unless it's on a white background screen like that. Where was it? It was around about here. So around about there somewhere. And then you start wondering, should I test these things before I put it all together? But then I think overall you probably end up losing time that way. Because it's not a very common occurrence. At least it's not as bad as back in the iPhone 4 and 4S days, where it really did take a tremendous amount of time to get those damn things off. Yep, and there it was. It was a little piece of glass. That was it. Now the question I've got to work out is, has this permanently damaged it or not? So at least at this point we can just plug it back in to test and see what happens. That's why I'm glad I charge a reasonable amount for screen replacements. Hey Aaron. Hey Charles. Jan Zimmy. And Tyler Kronbush. Does the heat ever break, or is it just constantly this hot? During summer it's essentially, this is pretty, 35 is actually normal summer. We'll go through about 2 months of 38, 39. But overall, yeah, mid to high 30s is very normal the entire time. The worst thing is it goes for about 9 months all up. Oh no. Well, I can't see a hot spot there anymore. Yeah, that's good. There's no hot spot there anymore. So we're good. We managed to get it before it caused damage. Hey, Mr. Bailey. You guys cooking down there too? I'm sure you all are. Does it at least get to a reasonable temperature at night? It gets to about 20. So long as it gets to about 20, we're good. We can open up everything, and the air conditioner has half a chance of catching up. The big problem in this particular house is that the walls, you can see them behind me, just there, they are not solid 220 thick, I think. No, not 220, around about 150 thick, and they're just solid, so it may as well just be a complete slab of concrete. And so it cooks up within the first couple of weeks of summer, and there's no reprieve until a couple of weeks into winter, or until it cools off, that is. And that's why the air conditioners have such a hard time, because they're not fighting the outside air temperature, they're fighting the latent heat stored in the block. So the ideal solution is to get cladding on the outside to stop the heat even building up in the first place. But of course that's probably $25,000–$30,000, I'd say, for a house this size. Oh, just hang on there a second. I'll be right back. Oh, that was fun. My wife's computer, there was a Facebook link or something like that, and it went off to a page that was saying, "Warning, your Apple computer has a virus." Unfortunately, my wife's more than clued up enough to realize that that's a load of bull. So she just brought it into me and said, "Whoa, look at this." And it was the usual website trickery where you try to close it and it just keeps popping back up and things like that. Scammers. Sad thing is they get a lot of people. Oh man, this iPhone's now taking way too long. But at least it's done right. And I put fingerprints over everything. That's annoying. The force quit, that's what I ended up doing. Yeah, shock horror, I actually use iMax here. The A1502 I find to be a very nice machine. Whenever I've got to go out on site for a job, yeah, tech job or something like that, then that's the machine I grab. I end up selling all my PC laptops. I mean, I'm not a great fan of the new Macs because of the lack of MagSafe, the lack of ports, the touch bar, all that sort of stuff. But the old ones, the 1502, the 1466s, I'm perfectly happy to use those. Hey, Amy Cole. Alright, let's get these fingerprints off. If I'd worn gloves, I wouldn't have fingerprints. But if I'd worn gloves, I'd be swimming in a sea of sweat. I'm hoping I'll get to do some more coding on Flexboard View soon. I've got a few features that I've got to push out. I've got the search and the previous and all that sort of stuff that Lewis was complaining bitterly about. In fairness, things like that should have been done ages ago. One thing I do definitely have to do is create a keyboard mapping system, because obviously not everybody has a US keyboard, which means when you press the keys to get the certain functions up, it's not going to work on non-US keyboards, at least not in the same way. German keyboards in particular seem to be the favourite one. So the best way for me to get around all that is simply to allow people to select what keys they want to use for what functions. So I have to write that up. It just gets a bit hard to find the time sometimes, because when you get started with the coding, you need to spend at least a month or so working on that. It's not something anymore that you can just sort of flip on the machine, do 10 minutes of work on it, or even an hour of work on it, then go on something else. When you get into the code base size that this is, it's just not it's not economical with your time to try and do tiny little pieces. You really need to say, okay, for the next month I'm going to be working pretty much exclusively on, say, Flexboard View code base, and then after a month you sort of finally get your stable release out, and then you move on to something else again. Hey Q's. No, Rocket, was that with the new devices or the old ones? I mean, I use an iPhone 6s Plus for my phone. I used to have a Galaxy Note, but I got so frustrated with the fact that it was just so damn slow at the best of times. Okay, that's good. Home button works. We're done. Another successful repair. It wasn't really a repair. Stick that there. Clean this up. I do wish there was less wastage with this sort of stuff. I hate the fact that every time you do a screen replacement, you know, you got all this plastic. I mean, I know it's Yeah, I know it's difficult, but it'd be nice if we could just cut down on the amount of trash. Admittingly, at least we're saving the whole phone. Hey Jonathan, Seraphim. The snake, the spotted python, it's probably gone into a tree somewhere. We have quite a lot of pythons and snakes around here. Just unfortunately every now and then they do breach through into the enclosure, to the cat enclosure areas, and I just have to get them out. Unfortunately with things like that python, they're very easy to handle, particularly given that was only about a foot long. The ones that are really tricky for me are the yellow-faced whip snakes, because they are very fast and they're pretty quick to bite, and they are slightly venomous. They're the same family as brown snakes and whatnot, but yeah, I don't handle them directly. I just generally try to usher them. The pythons I'll tend to handle, but usually on a stick or some other mechanism. I need to buy myself a proper snake hook. That would help a lot. What's this? Python is probably the best to learn to code on. Oh, don't get me started. I really wanted to like Python. I like the, it's got good support and everything, but that active white space, it killed me. I ended up I went back. I gave up. PHP, yeah, I mean, I'll gladly do PHP. I know it gets a bad rap, but it's kind of like C. I mean, there are so many ways you can code badly in almost every language, and C and PHP are probably the two languages that get the worst coders at times. But as an actual language itself, in terms of everyday real productivity, no, I don't have a problem with them. I mean, I know the academics will whine and complain about it. There are technical, pedantic issues that you can bring up, but at the end of the day, I just need to be able to take what I need to get done, code it, give the result. That's it. I don't care about whether it does lambdas or whatever. I just need the result to be working. 7 kitties, well, they're all asleep at the moment, locked inside the house. We let them out early in the morning for a couple of hours. They go out, do their business in the enclosures, and then around about 11:30 we lock them in summer, and they just sleep through to about 3 or 4, hopefully about 4:30. We may let them out then, but usually we try to wait till about 6:30 in the evening when it's starting to get cool and the sun's starting to drop, and usually by then the worst snakes have gone off and started to get settled. And then we leave them out to around about midnight and bring them back in. The house is quite large in here. It's sort of 2 houses built together, so they've got plenty of room to run around in, but cats do like to be outside, but we've got to restrain them. Do I love cats, or do I sell? We just love cats. More than anything, we just love animals. And we had all of ours are now rescue cats, so we're just trying to do what we can where we can. And it's not just the cats that we rescue. We rescue dogs and wildlife, so whatever comes around. Yeah, Stuart, that's right. Yeah, I mean, plenty of languages around. You just know best one. Depends on the task. They're just tools. Cats sleep a lot. That's what we like about them. Why would you pepper spray a snake? Alright, I gotta go. I'm gonna get this back to the customer. I've got some MacBooks I need to fix. I will probably be recording those MacBooks. I'm not going to do them live. It just takes too long to do them live. So I'll do a record, I'll edit and upload. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you all for stopping in for the boring iPhone 6 fix. But it was good to catch up with you and say hello and let you know that I'm melting here in North Queensland. The rest of you, take care. See you next time.